Smith of Washington. He is the ranking member of the Armed Services Committee. Nice to have you back to the broadcast, and with a good day to you. I want to get your biggest takeaway from the release of all of these Carter Page FISA documents, especially how we saw the way in which it has been politicized.
Well, it's kind of shocking that they would choose to release a FISA document. I'm not sure, but I'm reasonably sure this is unprecedented. And then it's clear that the Republicans were using this to try to make their point, and then they just said what they wanted to say despite what the documents said. I mean, the documents make it clear that they had every reason to get the warrant on Carter Page that they got and to investigate him in the way that they did. But look, this is all part of the Republican effort to undermine Bob Mueller's investigation and try to distract people from the facts, the very clear facts of Russian interference in our election and the very clear facts that people at very high levels of the Trump campaign appear to have had interactions with those Russian agents that were interfering with the election. Those are the facts, and this document really doesn't change that.
How much do you think the document actually weighs into the Mueller investigation? How much will they matter?
Ultimately, I don't think it matters that much. This is really a small tangential issue with Congressman Nunes and others trying to argue that the Obama administration, or at that time, the FBI, under the Obama administration, sought a warrant on Carter Page when they really didn't have reason to, but the facts showed that they did have reason to. And the other big point that I always like to make is they're trying to argue that this was done to undermine Trump. This was part of some conspiracy within the Obama House to help Hillary Clinton hurt Donald Trump. But they never said anything about it before the election. They kept it quiet. What this was a legitimate investigation about a legitimate concern that people very close to Donald Trump's campaign had close ties to the Russians at precisely the time the Russians were interfering in our election. If they had been politically motivated, they certainly wouldn't have waited until after Donald Trump got elected. I mean, even then they didn't release it. This has simply come out later as part of the investigation. So it's very clear that there was nothing political about the effort to find out what Carter Page was doing with the Russians. So, Donald Trump's going to keep saying what he says, whether it's true or not.
So in terms of things that you have said, the release of the documents, of course, coming on the aftermath of the Helsinki summit and all this back and forth between the president about some of his comments, but you have used the T word initially and then telling the Seattle Times that treason might have been a little bit of hyperbole. But then you added, there is no question in my mind that the United States has the need to begin an impeachment investigation. Where do you stand today on that?
Two quick things. One, I think we need to complete Robert Mueller's investigation before we do that. But I was, like many Americans, deeply offended by what the president did in Helsinki, the way that he, right there, asked several point-blank questions, sided with a foreign adversary who clearly interfered in our elections over our intelligence community, told the world that our intelligence community was wrong and Vladimir Putin was right. And I think that the treason response was a little bit emotional, just coming so quickly after that. But the remedy when if a president commits crimes is an impeachment investigation. So Mueller needs to do the investigation. The remedy would be impeachment, not treason or a criminal trial. So I apologize for the emotional reaction on that front. But look, what President Trump has clearly done is he has tried to stop this investigation. To what the Russians clearly did, and right there on the international stage, standing next to Putin, President Trump showed more weakness as a U.S. president than we've seen in a very, very long time, kowtowing to a foreign leader who is not just trying to undermine America, he's trying to undermine democracy. It's his plan. He wants Russia to have more influence and Western democracies to have less. That's why he's interfering in our elections. And I just wish the president would back our intelligence community up, back the FBI up in their effort to stop Russia from doing what is such a clear threat to our democracy.
And, interestingly, I want to play for you what Republican Congressman Trey Gowdy said about it this morning. Here's that.
The president missed, I think, a really good opportunity to distinguish the United States from any other country, but especially from Russia. The United States of America were the victim. We were the victims of what Russia did in 2016, and it ought to be a source of unity and rallying around the fact that we're never going to allow this to happen again, and we're going to punish those who tried to do it. And there was this equivocation during the press conference that I'm glad he corrected it, But when you're the leader of the free world, every syllable matters, and you really shouldn't be having to correct it.
Representative Smith, your reaction to that, and does it suggest at all to you that Republicans may start taking more aggressive steps, especially now the president is inviting Vladimir Putin to Washington, D.C. right before we hold the midterms?
Well, I completely agree with Congressman Gowdy, and that's what's so frustrating about this. And I don't know why. I mean, there's a whole lot of speculation about why President Trump has handled this the way he has. But Trey is absolutely right. This is about the United States. It's not about Republican versus Democrat. It's not about whether or not, Donald Trump's victory was great or small or whatever. Look, as a Democrat, I'll tell you, President Trump won. He won the election under our Constitution. He is the legitimate president of the United States of America. He needs to stop about that. And like Congressman Gowdy said, this is about America. This is about all of us, not Democrat or Republican. It's about whether or not we're going to have free and fair elections, elections that are free of foreign interference from Russia. We ought to be united on that. Instead, the president consistently undermines the effort to investigate and stop Russia or stop us from preventing Russia from doing it again, which raises the question, why? Why is the president doing this? And it just makes him look bad. He should come out, as Congressman Gowdy suggested, and say, this is totally unacceptable. And standing there on an international stage, he should have said to President Putin, we know what you did. It's wrong. We're going to hold you accountable, and we're going to make darn sure it's not going to happen again. That's what the president should have done. I think Republicans are just as frustrated as Democrats that he once again did not do that.
Democrat Congressman